let's talk about Iraq, which for every politician, apart perhaps from Barack Obama, it's a problem. She voted in October 2002 to give Bush the authority to go to war. So did a lot of other politicians. But she was very late in expressing regret. She was sticking, a bit like John McCain, to the hope that it was all going to turn out okay in the end. And something she said that she quoted in the book, it seemed to me rather hypocritical. She says, if I'd been president in October 2002, I would never have asked for authority to divert our attention from Iraq to Afghanistan, and I certainly never would have started this war. And yet she voted for the authority.
That to me was really interesting if you look closely at the reasons she gave for supporting the war, because she was reacting as if she was president herself. You know, she was a senator. She had been a senator for, 9 or 10 months for a little over a year and a half by that point in time. And she was still thinking, you know, what would it be like to be in a White House and not be able to have freedom of military action? And that, you know, that wasn't her job. She was a senator. She should have been fulfilling that role. But she voted for the war. There's no question. And she knew, despite her protestations since, she knew that that vote would lead to war. I mean, everyone did. And if you read the comments of other senators who voted to authorize the war at that time, they were careful to say, this is not a blank check. We don't want a preemptive war. We have some doubts about what you're saying about weapons of mass destruction. Now, if you look at Hillary Clinton's speech, she didn't express any of those doubts. So she was either extremely gullible or extremely supportive of the war. You know, all those things were in play.
Well, what would she do if she were president? I mean, because everybody says we want to bring the troops home. Who doesn't? George Bush wants to bring the troops home. Everyone has a sort of nuanced version of the same line. So, you know, come January 2009, what's going to be different, do you think, if she's president?
Well, I think actually that's the sad truth. I think, you know, I mean, John Edwards, her opponent, is going around saying he'd bring them home tomorrow. Bill Richardson, another opponent, is saying he'd bring them home immediately. And it's quite clear that that's not going to be immediate, and she's sort of couched in all sorts of different ways. But she sort of says that within the first 90 or 100 days of her administration, she'd sit down, come up with a plan to bring them home. But she would leave troops behind to protect the Kurdish areas and, you know, other strategic things. So there's no one foresees that in 2009 we'll see all of the American forces out of Iraq. That's not going to happen.
And on Iran, I mean, people shouldn't wake up jumping for joy that there's not going to be some sort of conflict with Iran if Hillary's president, should they? I mean, no. Similarly, you know, she inherits what she inherits,
and she's been hawkish on Iran. I mean, as we've seen in recent weeks, she was the only Democratic candidate, the ones who are running now, to actually support this resolution against Iran. So she would not rule out the use of force against Iran.